Hello, and welcome to We Don't Know What to Watch. This is Kyle, and before Noah and I get into our main podcast on this film, I brought on a special guest because we watched a kids' movie this time, and so I brought my daughter Elsa on to talk about this movie. Can you say hi, Elsa?
Hi.
What movie did we watch, Elsa?
Tinkerbell and the Lost Treasure.
Yeah, and did you like this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah? Have you seen this movie before?
Yeah.
When? Did you used to watch other Tinkerbell movies?
I've watched all of them.
Yeah, when you were a little bit younger?
Yeah.
I should mention that Elsa is 9 years old, and she has watched all the Tinkerbell movies when she was younger. Can you tell me what The Lost Treasure is about?
Tinkerbell is trying to make a scepter for... I forgot what it's called. It's like a holiday.
Some sort of fall festival thing.
Yeah. And to make some blue pixie dust. And then she broke the moonstone. So then she had to... And then she made a scepter that holds all of the pieces of the moonstone. And they had more blue pixie dust than any of the other scepters ever made, because all of the crystal was just scattered everywhere, which made more.
Yeah. And what was your favorite part of the movie?
When they were at the cave and the tunnel thing, and those goblin creatures kept fighting.
Oh, yeah, there was trolls guarding the tunnel, weren't there? And they were bickering because they were like friends that kept on fighting with each other.
I thought they were brothers.
Oh, were they? Yes, they were brothers. I think they were
they're
brothers. Yes, so they were bickering like siblings do. You never bicker with your sibling, do you?
All the time. And when they were bickering, she snuck past them.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And who's your favorite character in the movie?
The little Firefly. He's adorable. I think he was Blaze?
Blaze, yes.
Yeah, Blaze was his name. He was adorable.
And when they made a flashlight out of his butt? That was pretty cute. He was pretty adorable, I have to say. They always do a good job of making a little animal companion in Disney movies, don't they?
And they make them cute little faces.
Yeah. Do you have any other favorite characters, like any of the other fairies? Or do you like Tinker the best?
My favorite is the animal fairy. I always forget her name.
And she wasn't in this one as much, was she?
No, not as much. Just near the beginning.
This one was a lot about Tinkerbell.
Yeah. And his friend. And her friend, Flint or something? He's a pixie dust fairy. He helps with the pixie dust, making pixie dust.
Yep. Did you learn anything from this movie? Because there were some lessons in here. What was some of the lessons about in this movie? Do you remember? Because she got mad at people.
Control your anger.
And she got mad at people when it was kind of her fault, and she was blaming others, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of learning to take responsibility for yourself, and also not to get mad at your friends. There was a lot about friendship in this, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you like this movie as much now as you did when you were a kid, or are you outgrowing it?
Not really outgrowing it.
Not really outgrowing it? Would you recommend this to your friends?
Yeah. Except the main Tinkerbell one that I would recommend is actually Tinkerbell and the Never Beast, because that was always my favorite. But
oh, okay. So
yeah.
that one you like a little better.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just
So you still liked this? So you're 9 years old, and you still liked this pretty good, compared to when you watched it when you were 6 or 7. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. That means you got a good recommend for other kids your age, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining on the podcast. This was fun, and maybe we'll find other movies to do this with. And can you say goodbye to everybody?
Bye-bye.
And that was Elsa, and now we'll get back to our regular show with Noah and I.
Yay!
Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies on the internet and then talk about them. With me, as always, is the amazing, the incredible, the Captain Hook to my Smee, Kyle Mulford. And I'm Noah Saturn. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm good, as long as that crocodile's away.
Especially with its ticking
Ticking. This podcast today has been brought to you by Pixie Dust, because our podcast sprinkles a little bit of magic into your day.
Is that what we call it? I thought it was cocaine.
Call it what you want.
Oh, yeah.
What did we watch today? Peter Pan?
Well, if only we watched one of the spin-off series, number 2 of 6, in the Tinkerbell series called Tinkerbell and the Lost Treasure.
From 2009.
Before we start, did you ever have the Pixie Sticks as a kid?
Yes.
Just straight sugar into your mouth?
Oh, yeah. I'd get the giant ones and just dump the entire thing in.
Nice.
I love the Pixie Sticks. Gotta love the Pixie Dust.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this is a little departure from us, but you know what? The almighty algorithm has spoken, and we watched this. A kid's movie. And this one really is geared towards kids. So
I would argue like preschooler through first grade.
Yeah, and I watched this with my 9-year-old, and I guess my history with that is, I'll see if she says she wants to do this, but there may or may not be a little interview of me and my daughter at the beginning of this podcast. We'll see if she goes through with it. I was just going to ask her questions just so she could be on the podcast. But my history with this is that she watched all of these Tinkerbell movies like all the time on Netflix several years ago. She'd watch all of them, and she even had the storybook version that had like a few of them in there, with pictures and all that stuff that we'd read to her at bedtime. I think we still have that book. So yeah, I'm very familiar with these Tinkerbell movies. We had so kind of go into this. They were made from 2008 to 2015. Like you said, there were 6 of them. Tinkerbell in 2008, then this one 2009, Tinkerbell and the Great Fairy Rescue in 2010, Secret of the Wings in 2012, The Pirate Fairy in 2014, and Tinkerbell and the Legend of the Neverbeast 2015. And what's interesting about this is they're all straight to video, and I think that they kept like the same cast as through these, and there's actually a pretty good cast in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we want to get into that right now.
Let's go through the basic premise. So this time, Tinkerbell has kind of found her place in Pixie Hollow. She's a Tinker Fairy, which means she builds stuff. She's the STEM Fairy.
Yeah, she just happens to be the one Tinker Fairy actually called Tinker. That's the interesting thing about this series.
Yes. I just like how this character is called Fairy Gary and Fairy Mary.
Yes. I love Fairy Gary and Fairy Mary. Come on.
You're calling yourself Human Norm. Or Human Guy.
Human Guy. Yeah, she's kind of found her place as a tinker, and then they've got like this autumn revelry coming up where the blue moon comes every I don't know how many years. And so then one fairy is chosen to make a staff that to put their single solitary moonstone on, and then it creates blue fairy dust to replenish the pixie dust tree in the village or whatever.
Yeah, the life tree or whatever, just like Avatar.
Yeah.
Or did Avatar rip this off? Because this came first.
Yeah, right. And then, lo and behold, the moonstone gets broken.
Oh, no.
She goes on an adventure to try and find something to fix it, and then she learns valuable lessons along the way.
Yep. Maybe the real lost treasure were the friendships we made along the way. I'm not joking. That is the moral.
I think you broke up there for a second. I was a little worried we were going to lose our podcast again.
Oh, no.
Don't lose the tinker.
So, yeah, let's go into the cast.
Okay, so first of all, the director is a guy named Clay Hall, and he did 2 feature films. This was his first feature film, and his second one was in 2013 called Planes.
Hey, a gig's a gig.
Yep, and I think that's the last thing he's done, director-wise. But, yeah, Tinkerbell is played by Mae Whitman in these films, and you might know her from our previous episode of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Go listen to that episode.
Yeah, she's a great comedic actor whenever she shows up. Yeah, and she looks like she's 12, even though she's like 30.
Right. I really liked her in The Duff. I thought that was a good movie. And then her friend who has kind of a thing for her in this movie is Terrence, played by Jesse McCartney. And then you have Lucy Liu playing Silver Mist and Raven Simone playing Iridessa. Kristen Chenoweth is in here as Rosetta. Rob Paulson is one of the other two Tinkers, Bobble, and you might know him as Yakko and Pinky from the Animaniacs.
And everything else.
And yeah, he did a lot of voice work.
He's very prolific.
But like, I mean, he's Yakko and he's Pinky.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Minister of Autumn, who I think just comes into this episode, I don't know if he's in the other movies, is played by John DiMaggio, our favorite binge drinking robot.
Yes. I just want to see like Bender dialogue over him and see if it works.
And then finally, another big name in this was Queen Clarion, was played by Angelica Houston, who we talked about in our episode on Buffalo 66. Another plug there.
Nice.
So yeah, like really interesting cast for these straight to DVD movies.
Yeah, there's some money in there somewhere. Not in the animation, but somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and the animation was fine for straight to DVD.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a lot better than some of like those really weird, like, you ever seen like those like bad, I think, like bootleg animated movies like Little Cars Story, where it's just like very bare bones?
No, I haven't seen those, but yeah, I've seen some bad animation with straight to DVD before. So anyway, this is a pretty basic, this one is all about, I'm going to pause here for a second because it says lost connection to the server. So we might have to like just come back at this point.
So overall, what do you think of the characters in Tinkerbell? We've got our main character, Tink. Her fairy friends, her girl group is kind of barely in it, though. It's really more about her and Terrence.
It really was, because the other friends, I will say, play a much bigger role in the other movies. I think we could use more Bobble and Clank, because they're kind of like the comic relief, and they weren't used much in this one either. This one really was a Tinkerbell, like mostly a Tinkerbell story. And I think Mae Whitman does a fine job as Tink. I thought, she goes on this adventure because, she breaks the moonstone and she runs off by herself. The whole story is kind of like there's a whole lesson about with themes of friendship and responsibility. Like she gets all angry and flustered and things happen and then she blames other people. So she doesn't so she kind of ruins friendships and doesn't take responsibility for her own, faults and everything. And that's kind of what she learns along the way, because and then of course there's the whole metaphor is like, she's going to find this magic mirror that has one wish left in it. And when she gets it, I did like this, where she finds a new lightning bug friend along the way called Blaze.
Named Blaze.
Which was Elsa's favorite character.
Of course.
And, why wouldn't it be? But she's looking in the mirror and he's bugging her, and she's like, I wish you would just be quiet for 1 minute. And so she used up the wish, and then she's like yelling at him, and then she looks in the mirror and sees her reflection and goes, oh my, this is partly my fault too.
I also really liked how they used Blaze as a flashlight.
Yeah.
Just put like a leaf around him.
That's one thing I do want to talk about these movies, and this one in particular, is I do like the choices they make because they're fairies. They're little and they use like nature and everything. So like, yeah, they wrap a leaf around him and like to kind of direct his light his butt as a flashlight. One of Bobble and Clank, I don't remember which one is which name, but one of them has like these big glasses on. They're like
That's Bobble.
Thick, yeah, the thick grandpa glasses. But what it is water drops in there, so that he can see better. And there's all sorts of fun little things that they do with like insects and leaves and all of this stuff. And I think it's pretty cute what they do with a lot of the characters and the environment and everything.
That's definitely, I think, where some of the creativity went, was just sort of how would these inventions or things look? Yeah.
Because, it makes boats out of things she finds. And, she's a tinker. So they find, he needed to go find a sharp thing. So he finds an old pocket watch with a,
it's like the minute hand
is really sharp in there. And that's like about the size of the pocket watch is about the size of them. So, but yeah, it's, I mean, there's not a lot we can say about these movies because it's got a good theme, and it's got decent animation, and there's some funny moments in it, and cute and funny, and it really is, like you said earlier, it's geared towards your kindergarten, your first graders. And I think, like I said, my daughter watched these a lot when she was younger, but then she watched this with me for this podcast, and I think she enjoyed it again still. So, they're decent movies for kids, and in a world full of shit movies and
like those really weird, nonsensical YouTube videos.
Yeah. There's a lot of crap out there. And this one really is something that's, I didn't mind that my daughter watched these when she was younger and kind of had them on a loop. Am I going to sit down and watch these as an adult? No, but that's not what they're for. So they really do their job.
Yep, so Uncle TV can distract the kids so you can get some work done for an hour and a half.
Yeah, and there's something that you don't mind watching yourself if your kids are watching it. And that's one of those things that, like, I'm one of those parents that I have 2 kids, and every time a parent says, "Oh, some of the crap you have to watch when you have kids," I go, every single time I hear that, I go, "No, you don't. You're the parent. Find something good that they'll still enjoy. There's plenty of it out there. You don't have to watch the crap, and you don't have to let your kids watch the crap." It's, so especially when they're that young. Now I've got like a preteen, and she watches a bunch of YouTube crap that I really wish she wouldn't watch, and I don't care for, but I'm like, she's old enough, I don't have to watch it with her. Like, do your thing, whatever. I watched a lot of garbage when I was a kid too. So.
Yes, and I still do. So
exactly. So but yeah, this I did look on Rotten Tomatoes. This does have 100%.
Hell yeah!
With 5 reviews. And the reviews seem kind of like similar to what I'm saying, where it's like, this is a cute movie. It really is. It's harmless.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the bigger flaws, I guess, of how people view Rotten Tomatoes. It's not like a final judgment of like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes does not mean it's the greatest movie ever. It means the critics who bothered to saw it and log it liked it enough to give it, like, I don't know, an okay.
Yeah, five critics, and all of them at least said, "Meh, it's all right."
Yeah.
But it's got a 73% with users. I tend to like to go with the users more on Rotten Tomatoes because there's always like thousands of them. But and they're your average Joe Schmoes, John Q. Public watching a movie.
Yeah.
But I will say, I did go online to try and find some stuff. There was not a lot to find on this, other than apparently there was a Nintendo DS game of this particular movie.
Ooh.
And then I found a YouTube video of one of the special features on the DVD. There is a bloopers and outtakes reel. And
that's fun.
And actually, it was, now that you've seen the movie, I would say take the 5 minutes to go watch it. It's actually really cute. And I was like, this is actually funnier and cuter than the movie, really. Because being an animated movie, it's like, oh, these outtakes and bloopers are all scripted.
Yeah.
But what they do with it is, sometimes animated movies, bloopers and outtakes are some of the best bloopers and outtakes.
Especially like Monsters, Inc. They had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. So I actually, I was like sitting there giggling at some of the little things. Like there's one point where in the movie where she goes, "Oh, go fetch the stick," to the little lightning bug, and he brings back the stick within a second. Well, scattered throughout the outtakes was him just showing up with something in his mouth, and it's like a different thing every time. At one point, it was Captain Hook's hook, and nice. She just like backs up and goes, "Yeah." It was pretty funny.
That is funny.
So I don't know if you have much else to say about this movie.
I do not. I think we should move on to at least my favorite segment, which is double feature. So if we like this film, what would we double feature it with? If we did not like this film, what would we watch instead? I don't think I can necessarily recommend this for a double feature. It's fine. But I think if you want something with a bit more substantial that's still aimed at a younger audience, I would argue something like Shaun the Sheep. In a mini episode, I talked about watching Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon. Those are fun, and they have a little bit more substance for adults to watch with kids.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll say about this. This is really geared towards the young crowd, and they don't really cater a lot to adults, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree. I do like a kids show that like can get that's clever enough to cater to both.
Yeah, it's different. It's a very different viewing experience when it's me, 27-year-old, no children, just like watching this on my couch by myself with the dog. It's like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, and then you have me like actually watching it with my daughter, who's 9 now, but still old enough to enjoy it, and we had fun watching this movie, and it brought back memories of watching these Tinkerbell movies with her when she was younger. So I have good memories associated with these movies because my daughter loved them when she was younger. But I think I'm going to go with the most obvious choice and say, you want more Tinkerbell, then watch Peter Pan.
True.
Just be prepared to have a conversation with your kids about the portrayal of the Native Americans in that film.
Woof.
But you can't get away from any old Disney movie without having some sort of conversation about some pretty bad depictions of certain groups.
Isn't that right, Dumbo?
But that doesn't mean you can't still enjoy the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And
plus, you have to talk about how not all Italians are evil in Pinocchio.
So, speaking of Dumbo, it's unfortunate that the crows are that way because they have my favorite song in the movie.
Yeah, it's a good song.
That's
which
fantastic.
Is a shame.
Yeah, it's just it's just a little unfortunate the way they're depicted in the film. But yeah, my choice is Peter Pan. That was one of my favorite Disney films growing up. That one and Robin Hood and Alice in Wonderland. Those were some faves of mine. So I'd recommend watching that to get some more Tinkerbell and a little more adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
plus
fly,
it has the amazingness that is Captain Hook.
Or you could watch Hook with Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell.
True, very true.
So, yeah. So, unfortunately, this is a little shorter episode, and we apologize. I'm going to try and stitch together. We kind of lost our recording, so I'm hoping that we didn't lose too much, and I can get this stitched together, and it doesn't make it's not too jumbled in the middle. But I guess we can move on now to what we're going to watch next time.
Spin to win. Spin to win. I just hope it's not another one of these.
70 or better, all genres, and spin it. Well, this one might be up your alley from stuff you've been watching lately. Well, it might be one you watched lately.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I think. This is the one you were talking about. In our What You Watching episode. The raccoons of the Tama Hills are being forced from their homes by the rapid development of houses and shopping malls. As it becomes harder to find food and shelter, they decide to band together and fight back. The raccoons practice and perfect the ancient art of transformation until they are even able to appear as humans in hilarious circumstances.
So, yeah.
Until we see this movie called Pom Poko, you can listen to the podcast I will have posted right before this one of our What You Watching, where you talk about this very shortly or very briefly, and we'll go more into detail on it in our next We Don't Know What to Watch.
Until then, never waste your last wish.
Till then, we can fly, we can fly,
we can fly, and you should still check us out on social media.
Oh yes, we need to do that whole rigmarole, don't we?
Yep.
Awesome KM at Twitter.
And on Twitter, I'm at Noah_Saturn. That is spelled Satern. Find us on YouTube, Instagram.
I had that backwards, didn't I? Yeah. I should have been at Twitter or on Twitter on Twitter at Instagram.
Oh no!
I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
It's falling apart. We should end this episode. We broke poor Kyle.
I'm broken. It's time to go.
You need to get some more pixie dusts from the Moonstone.
Until next time, yes, I've run out of pixie dust. I need to go get some more.
Mm-hmm. I'm Fairy Gary, and this is my wife, Fairy Mary, and our child, Fairy Larry, Jerry, and Terry.
And my other brother, Fairy Larry.
Exactly.